I'm Dr. Paul, and I've been in this industry for many, many, many years. Obviously, 30 years. I've been married 30 years and got into the medical about 5 years after I was married, really. And so, about 25 years, I've been in this natural medicine industry. I am an ND. People ask, what kind of doctor are you? I am a doctor of naturopathy, and I've been in many lectures, many summits, co-written books, all these kind of things. And so, that's why I'm here talking to you. Now, the reason that I got into this, a lot of people ask, how the heck did you learn about hydrogen gas? Because I started talking about hydrogen gas in 2008 and 2009, long before everybody knew hydrogen was helping. And they would tell me I was crazy. They would say, you're crazy. And then a couple years later, I was brilliant, right? That's what happened. And after the studies caught up with what we were talking about, then they thought, wow, I'm going to listen to him. He's not so crazy anymore. So these, as I said, these are my wife and my son, the two loves of my life. And I've been married almost 30 years and have a 20-year-old son, Jackson, and he, amazing, two people. And so where all my story started with coming to understand hydrogen was, believe it or not, on a cruise way back in 2005. So I don't know what we're doing here, but I was on a cruise with some friends, and they had just gotten into, they had an organic food store, and they had just gotten into these alkaline water systems. And they were telling me, oh my gosh, every possible thing is being healed. You know, we've got people with tumors on their legs. We've got people with diabetes. We've got people with all this. And I'm going very skeptical and saying, what are you talking about? You know? Well, I drink water every day, right? Water's not going to do that. So what's in the water? That's what I wanted to understand. And so they were saying, oh, it's the pH, it's the pH. And I said, nah, there's no way it's the pH. It's impossible. There's something else in the water. And so years of study, about a year and a half, I came to understand, this is going to be fun. So I came to understand that hydrogen is what's in the water. So regardless of the pH of water, when electrolysis is used to process water, you'll have hydrogen gas created. This is why Dr. Anthony Carlisle in 1830 and 1800s and continued on in 1830 to create water electrolysis was to harvest hydrogen gas. Most people don't know that's why Dr. Carlisle created or invented water electrolysis in 1800. So it wasn't to plate metals or do other things. It was really to get hydrogen gas, because he had learned in 1798 that hydrogen had antioxidant properties. So really not much was done with the understanding of hydrogen for many years until 1950 to 1965, when Japan did a human trial for 15 years, and it was discovered that it cured improper fermentation in the gut. That's really where people started saying, wait, this is something. If it cured improper fermentation in the gut, that's a serious issue. So my journey began on this cruise when my friends brought water with them, and I thought it was the strangest thing that someone brought water on a cruise, but they brought 9 gallons for us. And the first day of the cruise was Sunday morning, and this was my wife's first day of her menstrual cycle. And so she could not move much. So we went in, got on the ship, and she went to bed. And I thought, okay, out of this 9-day cruise, I'm not going to see her much until the end, unless I stay in the cabin the whole time. And so I was going to art auctions and back and going out and doing stuff, coming back. And so she started drinking this water that our friends gave us. And within 2 days, she was up and around on the cruise. And I thought, what in the world? So this is how it kind of caused me to say, wait a minute, something is going on, because it's affected my wife, and I want to understand what it was. And again, my friends were saying it's pH, it's pH, it's pH, and I was saying, no, I can't accept that, because there's no way it's getting through the stomach acid. And it wasn't. That was easy to prove. But I wanted to understand what the mechanism, what we call it in medicine, the mechanism of healing. I wanted to understand really what's going on that's causing my wife's body to be changed. I could not deny what we call anecdotal evidence where she was changing, but I definitely didn't understand why yet. And so I started to do some research. And after doing the research and discovering that hydrogen gas was in the water, And hydrogen gas is a selective antioxidant. Hydrogen gas does a lot of things for the body. That's when it began to make sense. And when I began studying hydrogen, I started seeing all kinds of things. Like I said, from 1700s, 1800s, believe it or not, World War II, they were using it for gunshot wounds. We have many studies, even from the 1970s here in the US, with cancer and hydrogen hyperbaric chambers. There were multiple studies done for cancer tumors and what have you. So once I focused my study on hydrogen, there were things that opened up. So hydrogen gas is critical for health. And what I want you all to understand is that your entire body is comprised of carbon hydrogen chains. If you really go down to the molecular level, it's carbon hydrogen chains. And hydrogen is really critical for a lot of things. Even something as simple as stomach acid is HCl, right? Well, what's the H? It's hydrogen to make hydrochloric acid. So we understand, if we begin to understand that hydrogen is critical, then we start to understand that every system in the body is modulated, and we ourselves have a hydrogen generator in our body that is supposed to produce hydrogen gas every day. And I jokingly said this on the panel last night, and I called it fart therapy just to get a little laugh out of people. But the reality is we are supposed to be producing hydrogen gas in our gut, 10 to 12 liters of hydrogen gas per day with a typical diet. And if we had the right bacteria in the gut, we would produce hydrogen gas. And we wouldn't have a need for me to create a water machine that dissolves hydrogen gas, because you'd be making it for yourselves. But what happened is mankind created a lot of chemicals and a lot of things that we have in food, water, air. And when we take those things into our body, it disrupts our system, primarily gut. So pesticides, heavy metals, pharmaceuticals, they can disrupt our intestinal tract pretty seriously. And therefore, we no longer can produce hydrogen gas. And if we can't produce hydrogen gas, then oxidation rises until we have what's called oxidative stress. And then we have inflammation. And the combination of oxidative stress and chronic inflammation is disease. That's the leading cause of disease. Doesn't matter what disease it is, but the combination of oxidative stress and inflammation is the leading cause of disease. So again, your body would be naturally combating that, but because of gut damage, we don't. And so I believe that 97% of the population have dysfunctioning gut. So about 3% have a healthy gut. And so when we talk about a dysfunctioning gut, and I know you've heard all the terms like leaky gut and all these kind of things, and I don't really even know what that means. Like, is something coming down your leg? I don't know what's happening with leaky gut, but that could be messy, right? And kind of embarrassing. So I want to really talk about a dysfunctioning gut from a medical perspective, which means we have the wrong polarity. The tissue in the lining of the gut has the wrong electrical potential, and therefore we have the wrong bacteria in the gut. That's really what gut damage is, or dysfunctioning gut. You have aerobic bacteria and you have anaerobic, and I'm just oversimplifying for today's purposes, but basically you have aerobic and anaerobic, and we should have 1 to 4% aerobic and 91 to 96% anaerobic microflora in the gut. And that anaerobic microflora, within the family of anaerobic microflora, we have what's called hydrogen trophs. And these hydrogen trophs are responsible for converting short chain and medium chain fatty acids, as well as fiber, water-soluble fiber, into hydrogen gas. That's where you would produce hydrogen gas in the gut, is the fact that you would have hydrogen trophs. And to have hydrogen trophs, you have to have an anaerobic microflora well established in communities. And so how do we do that? Let's get into a little bit the fact that how we get the gut to be proper, how we get it is electrically. So bacteria, and specifically strict anaerobes, require a negative 300 millivolts of electrical potential in the tissue of the gut. And if we create that environment, or what we call a biome or a terrain, we have a properly functioning gut. And so That's how we're able to help the gut. Within 2 weeks, you can have a gut that's functioning beautifully, no matter what you started with. And that's what we do with the water system that I created, was to fix the gut, basically. And we do that electrically, and hydrogen does that. Okay? So let's talk about the things we have. What is hydrogen? Any of you know what hydrogen is? You've heard of the Hindenburg, you've heard of these kind of things, but hydrogen is number one on the periodic table because it's tiny. It's so small, it can go anywhere in the body and modulate every pathway you could ever imagine. But it is a selective antioxidant. The thing that I want to have you guys understand is that hydrogen is a selective antioxidant. And what does that really mean? Being a selective antioxidant. Maybe that's what it is this. I don't know. Anyways, selective means it only reaches and reacts with cytotoxic oxygen radicals. So that probably doesn't mean anything to you. Cytotoxic means cell damaging. And so there are radicals in your body that do good things for you, and there are radicals in your body that don't do good things for you. And so the things that are harming your cellular function are the things that hydrogen reacts with and works with, okay? And so that's why we need hydrogen to get rid of the bad, like hydroxyl radicals in the mitochondrial function, so you can produce energy and have energy for yourself. So right here are the things you can see on the PowerPoint, what hydrogen does, the main basic things. Here are some examples of benefits or systems that are affected positively by hydrogen. And of course, this list could be 10 times as long, but this is good for you to understand because these are the things that most people are struggling with, right? So all the things here on this list, from brain to gut to energy to whatever, it is all affected by hydrogen, okay? Anyone that wants this PowerPoint, I'm happy to send it. Just come over to the table. This handsome guy right here, Mike, he's at the table, and he is awesome, and he'll be able to get your name and email, and I'll be happy to send you the PowerPoint if you want it. But these are the things many times that can be helped with. And a lot of people don't know neurologic issues, brain issues, gut issues, energy levels, fatigue level for athletes, all these kind of things are affected by hydrogen. So let's talk about gut issues real quick. I told you earlier that gut issues affect 90+% of the population. And let's talk about a study. Here's a study that was done many years ago showing that, just what I told you earlier, that anaerobes have to have a negative 300 millivolts of electrical potential or they can't live. And so even if you're using probiotics, that's not going to help you long term. That's what I call a Band-Aid in medicine, because it's going to be a temporary fix. It goes right back away. Unless we get the tissue, the lining of the colon, to a negative 300 millivolts of electrical potential, we cannot support communities of anaerobic microflora, okay? If we get the electrical potential correct, then anaerobic microflora comes, creates communities, and now you have fixed the biome or the terrain, okay? And that's what this study is showing here. And you can see the highlighted areas in yellow where it's talking about anaerobes and it's talking about aerobes. Aerobes want a positive electrical potential. Anaerobes want a negative. So when we take an antibiotic round, which I think we overuse antibiotics in the world, and what I mean by overuse is we should only be taking antibiotics for life-threatening bacterial infections, okay? That's what they were designed for, and that's what we should be doing. But we just chuck antibiotics to people now like it's candy, and so what we end up with is damage to the gut. So hydrogen can fix the gut, and it does it, again, through electrical potential. Hydrogen, when it gets into the colon, can affect the electrical potential of the intestinal tract, the lining, and when we do that, anaerobic microflora will come and set up shop. So there's no need to go through a big process to recreate your gut. We can do this starting within an hour of drinking the water, but within a 2-week cycle, we can modulate the gut to the point where not everyone, but majority of people can be eating gluten and dairy with no inflammation. A lot of the food allergies go away. So it's really, really amazing. They can be eating foods they haven't been able to eat in a long time, and that's fun. I'm not saying you need to eat gluten and dairy. eat what you want, but you should be able to process all types of food in the gut, okay? So let's talk about oxidative stress and inflammation. And surprisingly, it affects the same number of people as gut damage. So that's an interesting thing there. But if we look at this slide, this shows us disease models that come from oxidative stress and inflammation, particularly radicals that are causing oxidative stress and inflammation. So how many of you knew that bipolar or schizophrenia was caused by oxidative stress and inflammation? Not many people, right? Yeah, we just think they're crazy. Like we say, make sure they take their medication, right? Like bipolar is. But if oxidative stress and inflammation causes bipolar, then we can reduce oxidative stress and inflammation and modulate behaviors, right? And that's the beauty of knowing what really causes disease models. So here's just a simple thing: is hydrogen can help. And this is just understanding that oxidative stress comes from an imbalance of the body's ability to react to radicals and neutralize them. And that's kind of the apple showing you, oxidative damage on one side versus not, okay? So let's go and let's talk about some studies. Here's the best place you can go on the internet to learn about studies relating to hydrogen. It's hydrogenstudies.com. And you can go and basically it's a searching tool. So you can type into that search bar anything you want to type in. And if it relates to a hydrogen study, it will come up. Whether it's cancer, diabetes, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, bipolar, whatever it is, you can type it in. You can type in nitric oxide. You'll find 32 studies on how hydrogen produces nitric oxide or stimulates nitric oxide production. You can type in telomeres. You can type in peptides. You can type in all the cool stuff that you're learning about in our natural medicine world today, and understand that hydrogen stimulates all those things naturally when you have hydrogen in the body. So the reason we have to take all these things because we have gut damage as well, okay? So the reason we sugar and carb load to have energy is because we can't produce enough ATP to have energy for what we want to do. Again, hydrogen can stop the process of hydroxyl radicals, and so that way our mitochondria would work correctly. So there's a reason why everything's happening in our bodies, not because of age. I know that's what you're told. It's not really age. It's the fact that your gut is not functioning. 70% of immune function is tied to the bacteria in the gut or tied to gut health. So if 97% of the population has gut issues, then 97% of the population has low immune function, which makes sense because most people are susceptible, okay? So here is just a graph of how the studies have increased from 1995 all the way till this year. And you can see they started spiking in 2009. And that was really due to a study published by Nature Medicine on hydrogen being a selective antioxidant. And what that means is you have many radicals in your body, and most of them are life-sustaining, what we call, they have a physiological role. It's the bad ones, the cytotoxic or cell damaging, that we want to get rid of. And amazingly, hydrogen only reacts with them. Hydrogen doesn't react with any radicals that have a physiological role or a life-sustaining effect. Hydrogenstudies.com, as I said, there's 1,250 studies today, 217 disease models. Just 18.4% of the studies are human studies. So again, you got some nice few hundred double-blind studies that you can look at, from non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I mean, you start naming all of it, and there's 117 on cancer. There's 62 on diabetes. There's so many studies people should be paying attention to. But let's go through a few. Yes? Which one? Colitis? Yeah, it's in there. I'm going to show you a study in a second on that. But it's all about the way you spell it. If it, sometimes the spelling can be different. But so Nature Medicine, this, as I said to you, this was the foundational study in 2009 talking about hydrogen being a selective antioxidant. And it speaks directly about the hydroxyl radical, which is the most cell-damaging radical in the human body. Okay, it's typically in the mitochondrial respiratory chain, preventing energy, okay? Here's a nice study on the gut, and this is talking about how it helped stool, people being able to make fecal matter properly, and being able to go to the bathroom, which is a new concept we're trying. But, it's good to be able to go to the bathroom. It's good to eliminate toxins out of your body. And that's typically the only three ways are what? Pooping, peeing, and sweating, right? And then breathing out. So we only get the toxins out a certain number of ways. So understand this study is talking about even the healthy individuals improved in their stool, improved in their function. Here's the study on colitis, right? Yeah. Yeah. So, sorry. Yeah. So here's some great studies, and there's many more. If you can get your email to Mike right here, I'll send you all of the studies I have on gut, related to gut. You're very welcome. I love being a bit of an egghead and studying stuff, In certain circles, it makes you cool. In other circles, not so much. But anyways, the gut is critical. If I can't preach that enough, the function of your gut is everything. I did a paper, dissertation on longevity. And instead of listening to what everybody says about longevity, I studied 4,000 centenarians. Because I feel like, why are we talking about it? Why don't we just go look at the people that are over 100 and actually see what the heck is going on? And I found no religion, no diet, no place they lived, the clothes they wore. And I'm telling you, some people are like, you need ice cream every afternoon. Some people were like, got to drink once a day. I need wine. Some other people are like, no. So I found nothing but a few things that were the same. All of them felt like there was a higher power of some kind. All of them said they went outside once a day to spend time outside. And some of them were gardening. Some of them were just hanging out. All of them said they had friends that they went and did stuff with. They spent time with friends doing that. And then most all of them, in one way or another, as I said, gave gratitude, whether it was a higher power or they kind of looked outside of themselves for what they were doing. And so those are the only things I could find that were the same. This study, which I love, is on diabetes. I spent a lot of years in diabetes trying to prevent limb salvage, trying to prevent decubitus ulcers and amputations. And so it's near and dear to my heart. There's about 62 studies on diabetes. But this one particularly was fun because not only were the individuals with impaired glucose tolerance normalized, but the people with type 2 diabetes mellitus were normalized, their glucose levels. And so it's a good human study. And then you'll notice in the bottom, the cholesterol levels, LDL levels, are reduced by 15.5%, and a number of different things. Now, it would make sense if you understand that cholesterol is in the body in the first place because of oxidative stress systemically, okay? So if you have oxidative stress, then your veins and vessels will get more brittle. We use the word brittle, but I know it's brittle. There's less plasticity in them, and there's a potential that you could hemorrhage. And so the body puts cholesterol as a patch in the weak areas. So if the body is smart enough to do that, then the body is also smart enough to take away the cholesterol that it put there in the first place when you no longer need it, okay? So that's why you see 15.5% reduction of cholesterol. This next study is awesome. It's on colon cancer. And what was amazing is it introduces some neat new topics. At the bottom, it says that high content hydrogen water can inhibit colon cancer. Well, high content hydrogen water was like eco water with high content hydrogen. But what it actually says is that high content hydrogen water had stronger anti-cancer activity than did naturally occurring hydrogen water. So where did they get naturally occurring hydrogen water? In this study, it was Mount Fuji in Japan. There are multiple places across the earth that you can find naturally occurring hydrogen water. And sometimes it's high altitude mountains. Sometimes it's just wells or not wells, but like naturally occurring springs or things like this that have, and we could imagine that there's basalt reactions, or somehow there are organisms that are eating and releasing, like we do, hydrogen gas. So it just depends on what's going on. But there is naturally occurring hydrogen water on the earth. It does occur. It's in multiple countries, not just one. And so it's pretty cool. The thing we also learn is that with the water having the high content hydrogen water had 8 times the amount of hydrogen as did the natural hydrogen water, but there was only a 25% more in the blood. So we understand it's not a linear equation. So just because you put more hydrogen in the body doesn't mean you're actually getting more hydrogen into your blood much. And so we understand that quantity of hydrogen didn't matter because hydrogen is a modulator. It is just causing things to work properly in the body, and that's where you get the benefits. In this particular study, they were testing hydrogen water by itself. They were testing hydrogen water with a chemotherapy drug called 5-fluorouracil. That's what they were doing, and they wanted to see what happened. And so what they learned was hydrogen water had a very strong anti-cancer activity. In fact, by itself, stronger than the chemotherapy. But when you combined chemo and hydrogen water, it was 100% cancer cell death. And the reason being is in the middle of this page that I have, the yellow part, it says apoptosis was benefited. Apoptosis is where cancer cells destroy themselves. And so typically we have this apoptosis in our body where cells will destroy themselves when they're inappropriately duplicating. But when a cell becomes a cancer cell, apoptosis is no longer functioning. Somehow it's turned off and hydrogen turned it back on. And so that's what's really cool about that. So this is for all the athletes in the room that are high-end athletes. We have pro athletes that use our water. You guys probably saw that, wonderful gentleman, Djokovic won again the U.S. Open, right? And he drinks our water, so I always have fun saying that. So he's doing pretty well drinking the water. He can outlast all his competitors, and when you outlast in sports, you win. And so we have many. We have people from the Phoenix Suns. We have different athletes that use our water because, as it says in this study, these were soccer players. They had no lactate buildup in the muscle. When they drank the water a half an hour before playing the game, there was no lactate buildup, and therefore there's no exercise-induced muscle decline. And so they could just keep on going. And so it was great. There are a lot of people, maybe you're not elite athletes, but maybe you want to run around the block and you can't quite do it anymore. The hydrogen water will help you because it increases mitochondrial function and it decreases fatigue. And for athletes, it decreases recovery times. One of the other gentlemen at our booth, his name is Trace, and he was telling me yesterday that before he came to work for Echo, he was a runner. He would run the mountains of Utah, and he said that he went and his watch is a Garmin watch, and after he did a big run with his wife, it said he had a 17-hour recovery time. That's what, based on his body at that time, he would have a 17-hour recovery time. And he said that after he came to work for the company and he got the water system in his home and he was drinking the water, he went and did that run again a few weeks later and he had a 1-hour recovery time. And he said, I did nothing else but change the water. And he goes, I am running like I haven't been able to run and I'm not fatiguing. He goes, everything you're talking about is correct. And so these are things that people experience. And again, if we were producing hydrogen in the gut, we would be able to do this on our own. But because we have gut damage, we're not, okay? So here's a study on Parkinson's. I wouldn't wish Parkinson's on anyone, no matter how much you dislike them. It's a horrible thing. And so what you see in the yellow part is that hydrogen water had disease-modifying effects with Parkinson's disease. So what a wonderful thing is that. So I've tried to give you a little smattering. Again, there's 1,250 studies, 3,000 articles on different disease models and different things. And I'm hoping to just put a carrot in front of you so that you want to learn more and you want to understand, how can I help others? How can I tell others that I know that have disease models that we can help? Here is brain. This is 3 minutes. This is Dr. Kelly Miller. He does brain mapping. This was one of his patients, a 62-year-old female. He gave her 16 ounces of Echo water, and just a few minutes later, he did an after, before and then an after. And you can see these are significant changes in the brain in a matter of minutes. You know, you'll see on the left the 32% plasticity change and 58% normalization. But what we're really talking about is alpha and beta waves that were normalized. Over on the right, you see a before and after, and you can see all the red is high function. You don't need the whole entire brain high function. There's only parts of the brain that need to be functioning in that way. And so you can see in the bottom, the after is significantly different landscape. Any questions so far? Yes. Yeah, we have that as well. You'll get help with that. There's more studies on type 2 than on type 1, but there are many studies on type 1 as well. Yeah, sometimes it's not always in high altitude mountain streams, and sometimes they're lower. It just depends on the body of water. Like in India, there were rivers that had hydrogen naturally in them. There might be. I mean, sometimes you have hydrogen sulfide, which is sulfur, but then others you could have hydrogen gas, which is H2. It depends on. You can test them. We have a reagent you can actually test. Yeah. Okay, so why hydrogen? And for your clients or patients, and usually I'm speaking to professionals. You know, we have a lot of professionals that educate their patients or clients on our water systems. The 10-second answer is the three things everybody wants. They want a repaired gut, right? They want a better brain, and they want less oxidative stress and inflammation. And so those are the three reasons. I haven't met anyone yet that's like, nah, I kind of want to be dumb. You know, I want pain from inflammation. Like, don't usually find that. So we are the best. We IHSA certification, that's a company in Japan that called the International Hydrogen Standards Association. So we have IHSA certification. We have all these other certifications with ISO certifications and, you know, different medical product and what have you. This is our top of the line ultimate machine called the Echo Ultimate. It makes 4 types of water, and one obviously hydrogen water, and then we do make alkaline and acid water in this machine, not for drinking, for cleaning dirt and disinfecting bacteria and viruses. So if you want a chemical-free kitchen, this is the answer. Otherwise, you don't need to spend the extra money just for health benefits, because all of our devices improve health in the same. Acid water would disinfect with hypochlorous acid. So we have 4 types of water. The alkaline is good for dirt, cleaning. The acid water is for disinfecting. And the acid water has hypochlorous acid, which is HOCl, 80 times, 200 times more kill spectrum than bleach, but non-toxic. Well, typically people are smarter than that. If you notice on the far left up corner is the drinking water by itself, and over on the right are the other 3 types. So we try to make it to where it's hard to mess that up. Here are, if you're going to put that machine under the sink, you have these 3 beautiful faucets. This is the Echo H2. This is the machine that's running at the booth. We're making water live for you to try. If you want to sleep really good tonight, go get a bunch of water, and you know you'll sleep wonderfully tonight. But this machine, as the other one, can be countertop or under sink. And it does have, these 2 machines I've just shown you have filters in them. So they're removing heavy metals, pesticides, pharmaceuticals, chlorine, chloramines, glyphosate, all these kind of things that you would not want in the water. And I always say, don't be a filter, get a filter. And you don't want to have your body be the filter of all these things. Yes? It's every 1,000 gallons. No, it's every 1,000 gallons. So sometimes it's 2 years for people. I recommend always replacing a filter once a year, but it definitely for most households would last a year at least. Yeah. Because you're talking 1,000 gallons would go through. It's a lot of water. That's like 3 gallons a day. Yeah. This is the server, and that's designed for people that already have a reverse osmosis system, a distiller, or a whole house filtration system. This would dissolve hydrogen gas into the water. And there's no maintenance on this unit because there's no filter in it. You already have some sort of filtration system prior to it, okay? This is the RO that we make. It is a tankless. It makes a 1/4 gallon a minute of reverse osmosis water. And so that gets all the stuff out of water you would not want in water. This is a pitcher, battery operated. So you can make the water on the go. This is the Echo Go Plus. This is where you can put filtered water in, push a button, and in 5 minutes have hydrogen water when you're away from your machine or what have you. This is the Echo Clean. That makes the hypochlorous acid water I was talking about that the Ultimate machine makes. So if you didn't want to spend the money on the Ultimate, you can get this and one of the other devices, and you can have the best of both worlds. Okay. So again, this takes ordinary tap water and converts it into hypochlorous acid water, which is E. coli, Salmonella, MRSA, Staph, COVID on contact. Here's a whole house filtration system that we have that's proprietary, and so that is awesome. To clean all the stuff out of your water. If you only knew what was in your water, it's scary stuff. So here's some testimonials you can read. These are individuals that, put them on our site, talking about how much they love the water. So here's another one. And this was their chiropractor. Their chiropractor told them about it. And so, that's good. So you'll notice, some people are saying, I don't have medications I'm taking. Our record at this point is 35 medications someone was taking and then went to 0 after drinking and getting our water system. And they got reimbursed from their insurance company because they called them and said, how many drugs was I doing a month ago? And they're like, 35. We were paying for every one of them. And how much now? 0. What happened? And so they got their money back from the insurance company. Here are some cool women that use our water systems. Here's a really cool lady, Layla Ali, Muhammad Ali's daughter. She was the most successful female boxer of all time. She retired undefeated. So
I'm in a phase in my life where, because I understand the importance of water, I want the best that I can buy. So I have an Echo water system that really has upgraded my health because it produces hydrogen, which is good for your gut. It's good for oxidative stress. When I was competing as an athlete, I didn't know about that. That's something I would have loved to have had back then because my body was so stressed. When you think about a lot of the disease that people are dealing with now, that's what it is. Inflammation, issues with their gut. When I even think about my father, and Parkinson's, and I think about family members that have diabetes and that have Crohn's, and it's like, I just want to be like, here, take some of this water so it can heal you, and it can allow your body to do what it was designed to do.
So, here's some other wonderful people, guys. We get to give a little equal treatment to the guys and have some cool people that drink our water. And here's some doctors. I don't know if you follow any, Dr. Axe or Dr. Pompa or any of these people, but they're amazing, amazing individuals. So that's my presentation. What questions do you have? I appreciate the questions we've asked so far. Thank you. What questions does anyone have? Oh, you guys are easy. Okay. Yes. So our devices range from $150 up to $5,000. We have everything in between. The machines themselves, we have one bundle that is the reverse osmosis and the server that's $19.95. So for your home, you would have the cleanest water and hydrogen, and it's only $1,995. And then we have machines that are like 2,700 that have the filter built in and everything. So it just depends on what you're looking for. But we have a solution for you right here and then right there. Mm-hmm. Pretty quick. Yeah, so I mean, I've had some very special situations. I've been doing this 20 years, and so whether it's tremors, they can be gone in 10 minutes. You can give someone a couple glasses of our water and wash their hands, and they're all of a sudden still, and they'll feel tingling in their brain because you have selectively stimulated gastric ghrelin, which goes up to the brain, to the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, and the brainstem to change function. When it comes to Parkinson's, it's going to begin helping them within 3 minutes because you're going to have ghrelin going to the brain, and then you're going to see behavior start to change. I've had many times now people that purchased our systems because they have a spouse that has Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, one or the other, and they're buying it in hopes to help. Even if it just helps, it's a big deal, right? I think for myself, if it was my wife that had Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, I would do whatever to even help, just to help for a little longer, right? And have that person with you. They would call a lot of times and go, I just got your system an hour ago. I installed it and my wife drank some of the water and she's doing things she hasn't done in 5 years. Do you think it's related? And I was like, yeah, it is. But I'm a softie, but I just think what an amazing thing that would be for this husband to have, and he said, I set a timer on the stove and she went over and turned it off and came to me and asked what she could do next. And he goes, she hasn't been able to do that in 5 years. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. So there are some really cool experiences people have, and they'll message or call and say, this is happening, that's happening. My dog had this happen and, whatever. So, yeah, it's not a long time. I would say some of the things that are the longest are eye changes, like prescription. Sometimes that's a few months to where someone with diabetes that has, someone has diabetes that 6 months later, they might not be seeing as well. So they go to the optometrist and they say, oh, it's because your eyes have improved. You need less of a prescription. And so those things can take a little longer. As I mentioned with my wife, with her menstrual cycle, it did take 6 months to normalize it. And so sometimes those things can take, because it's a systemic issue. But many things are rapid, like minutes. Some things are days, and some things are weeks. It just depends on what's going on.
So I use a lot of the electrolyte additives.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Any of those products counteract?
No. No. So let me explain to you what we're doing in the device, and then I'll get to your question. So water is H2O, right? Hydrogen, oxygen, and they're two gases that come together to make a liquid. So what we're doing in the Echo devices is we're separating water molecules. And we're putting oxygen back out to the air for us to breathe, and we're just dissolving the H2 molecule, pure H2, into the remaining H2O liquid. And that's what we're doing. There's no other company that does what we do. There are a lot of alkaline systems that are saying they're hydrogen, but it's not really, because when you get mineral buildup, they lose the ability to dissolve hydrogen gas. And if you don't dissolve it, you don't get it into the colon. It just goes right back out. And so it doesn't help us at all. So that's what we're doing. So imagine in water is some gas. You can definitely put green drinks, other stuff in there, because it's not going to dislodge the hydrogen gas. And so it's the gas that you need. That's what would be helping the body. Does that help?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, yeah. Oh, right. But your plasticity is low, yeah. So the flexibility of veins and vessels is what's critical. And I don't know if you all know this, but the action of pumping blood through veins and vessels actually releases hormones into your body. The fact that you're pumping it and it's increasing and decreasing the size of the veins and vessels, believe it or not, that process releases things. So we need plasticity. We need the veins and vessels, especially, and arteries, of course, but veins and vessels to be have plasticity so they can be flexible and move as blood is pumping through. And so the plasticity will increase. And you'll have more flexibility in your brain tissue and veins and vessels for sure. Yeah, correct. Well, you have, I would definitely get a system because you want to have your vessels and veins able to handle. And you don't want hemorrhaging internally. Okay. Yeah, you can get that server. That the least expensive machine that we make is the server, and it can go right underneath the sink and add on to what you're doing. Yeah, you can do that. It would be good. A handyman usually, because it's literally with her setup. Hey, he's a handsome handyman. Look at that. Handyman for hire right here. No, so he did or invent. I think so. I think she gets him. I don't know. So here's the thing. It's like a 5-minute install for the server. It's so simple because, it's easy peasy lemon squeezy. So, any other questions? And by the way, we have videos on our YouTube channel that'll show you how to do it. But don't tell her. Just go be the hero and be like, wow. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah, if you purchase, the shipping is no charge anywhere in the world. And we allow you to prepay for duties as well. That way it'll go straight to your house instead of having to go to the customs office. So, great questions. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. We're done. Okay, thank you.